Hare Krishna Maharaj, thanks for talking to us on the occasion of your Vyasa Puja. I'm wondering if you can answer a few questions for us. The first one is, can you tell us the meaning of Vyasa Puja?
Meaning of Vyasa Puja. Vyasa Puja is the festival to honour our original, you can say, preceptor, or one of the original preceptors in our line of disciplic succession, in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Srila Vyasadeva is a very significant member of our disciplic succession. He's a compiler of all the Vedic literatures, of course. So it's traditional and customary in our line. This festival is known as Vyasa, or this celebration is Vyasa Puja. We're representing we're honouring the representative of Vyasadeva. He's the spiritual master of all devotees. But specifically, this is a day when we honour the representative, the present representative of the spiritual, of Srila Vyasadeva. Or in the case of Prabhupada, we have Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja, which is the most prominent Vyasa Puja festival, at least in ISKCON, every year. So in this particular case, is trying to be a humble representative of Srila Prabhupada in the line of disciplic succession, the devotees, the followers, the disciples, whatever. They honour this day, but it's really on behalf of Srila Vyasadeva, on behalf of our disciplic succession, that this ceremony is held, that this, whatever honours or honorific offerings are made, whatever it may be, is on behalf of the disciplic succession. The business is to accept that on behalf of Srila Vyasadeva, on behalf of the spiritual masters in our line. It's very important from the point of view of the devotees to actually on these days to make their offerings in this way, because it helps us to develop a deeper relationship with our spiritual masters, and also to purify our hearts of so many different, say, unwanted things, so many enemies within our heart. Maybe we have some feeling of envy or jealousy or whatever it may be, different things we may have. And it really helps us to open our hearts up on these days when we make our offerings in front of the Vyasa-san or in front of the representatives of the disciplic succession. It's very purifying. It helps us to really feel deeply how fallen and lowly we are, and just how much we depend upon the mercy of the spiritual master, how much we depend upon the disciplic succession, how much we depend upon Krishna. It's a very important program.
Thanks, Maharaj. Let me ask another question. Our second question is, who is a guru?
Srila Prabhupada, of course, has given a very simple answer to that in some places, in other places you go into great depth. But a guru is one who sincerely follows his spiritual master and passes on the message that he's received from his spiritual master. When discussing, when he was talking with John Lennon and George Harrison, Prabhupada said Guru is one who's mad for Krishna. I can honestly say I'm not mad. I may be mad, but I'm not mad for Krishna. But we're trying to be mad for following Srila Prabhupada and trying to dedicate our lives to trying to assist in whatever little way we can to fulfill his desire to see Krishna consciousness spread all over the world. So a guru is one who's, every Vaishnava actually is supposed to be a guru. There's not just somebody who's officially a guru, Every Vaishnava is, by definition, has to act in the role of guru, one who is heavy with knowledge, one who gives that knowledge to others. So we all have that duty. But in terms of, I guess, in terms of your question, in terms of our particular situation here, one who is representing Srila Prabhupada, one who is accepting on behalf of Srila Prabhupada the responsibility to help others, to take shelter of Srila Prabhupada's instructions. The guru is one who is following his spiritual master sincerely. And there are different levels of gurus, no doubt. But in principle, the guru is a representative, again, is a representative of the disciplic succession. And he's not changing anything, he's just, maybe you can say, some detail in one's own particular nature, whatever it is, but the basic principle is just being distributed to others. He's speaking the truth as is spoken in the Bhagavad Gita, as is spoken in Bhagavatam, as he's received from his spiritual master. The Guru doesn't change the message in any way. He just makes it more accessible or available to others. Guru's basic business. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for that.
Krishna Kirtana Ganana
So here's another question that we have, is can you tell us something about the relationship between Krishna, the Guru and the disciple?
The relationship is, of course, as there with every living entity, we all have a relationship with Krishna. So the business of the Guru also is to try to help others to re-establish or awaken their relationship with Krishna. So if the Guru himself doesn't have a relationship with Krishna, then it won't be possible to help develop that relationship, to awaken that relationship with others necessarily. In our particular case, we have our relationship through the disciplic succession. Krishna, of course, is the original Guru, we understand, and everyone else is his representative. So the relationship between Krishna, the Guru, and the disciple. Our actual nature is to serve Krishna, every living entity. Even in the spiritual world, it's not that we understand that we're directly servants of Krishna, we're dasa, and dasa. We're all servants of the servants of the servants of the servants of Krishna, who's the master of everyone. So even in the spiritual world, there's actually a lot, you can say, like a line of disciplic succession. That's the way Krishna has arranged his energies. In every society, we see that there's the systems of authority are in place. We receive knowledge from lines of authority and so on. So in the case of our particular disciplic succession, going back to Krishna, the relationship is that we're simply on behalf of the spiritual master acts on behalf of Krishna, is understood to be the external manifestation of Krishna. Depending on the purity of the spiritual master, Krishna's presence will be manifest to greater or lesser degrees. But every one of us is a representative ultimately of Krishna. Krishna himself makes it quite clear many times, his statements such as, when he thinks himself, my devotee is not my devotee. The devotees of the Lord, the devotees are more dear to me than my very self. The process of approaching Krishna is through the devotee, just like we approach an important man maybe through his secretary or whatever it is like this. So the spiritual master is like the ambassador or the secretary of Krishna coming to this foreign land. Just like we're in Australia, we can't necessarily approach the president or prime minister of some other country. But in this country we may have an ambassador, we may have some representative of that country. So spiritual master is a representative of Krishna in this foreign place, where people have, practically speaking, no direct connection with Krishna, or they're not aware of it. The spiritual master is trying to help to re-establish that connection. He represents Krishna in this world. And the disciple, of course, behooves the disciple, if they want to actually establish their relationship with Krishna, to establish their relationship with the spiritual master. It's like a chain, like a link, many chains on links on a chain. So you take shelter of the chain back to Krishna. Prabhupada said, we have to make the spiritual master, without acceptance of a spiritual master in the disciplic succession. There's no question of establishing one's relationship with Krishna as such. One must make the spiritual master, in Prabhupada's own words, Prabhupada said you have to make him concrete, not just something up in the air, so to speak. In other words, it has to be a personal connection with the representative of the disciplic succession. And then your service, although the disciple follows the instruction or guidance of the spiritual master, and that service is handed or passed through the chain of disciplic succession back to Krishna. It's not like the spiritual master is accepting on his own behalf. He's representing Prabhupada, in that case, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, and all the way back to Krishna through Srila Vyasa, all the way back to Krishna himself. That's the way our services are accepted, and this is the way one gets Krishna's mercy. Well, it's said that without the mercy of Krishna, the spiritual master, one can't get the mercy of Krishna. It's not that Krishna cannot bestow his mercy, but he bestows his mercy upon one who is humble, and one who actually takes shelter of this line of disciplic succession and follows that line of disciplic succession. That's the way you get Krishna's mercy, when he sees that we're humble, when he sees that we're serving, even in ordinary dealings, when someone sees that you're, say, serving their representative, then they generally are impressed, or they generally, reciprocate favourably towards you. But if you disrespect the ambassador or the representative of the, whoever it may be owner of a company, whatever it is, if you disrespect their representative, then naturally they're not going to be very impressed. They're not going to show favour. They're not going to be favourable towards you, generally speaking. And the same thing with Krishna. The spiritual master is Krishna's representative in this foreign place, and it behooves the disciple to understand that although the spiritual master is not God, he's a representative of God. And in that sense, it's said that the spiritual master is and Krishna to be seen as, in one sense, one, but they're different. The spiritual master is a servitor of the disciple succession, but he represents Krishna. So your service to Krishna, or our service to Krishna, is accepted by Krishna through this means. You can't directly approach Krishna. It doesn't work like that. At least not in this foreign land.
Krishna Kirtana Ganana Kanapatau.
Okay, our next question is, what is the...
Yeah. Sorry, I'm butting in. I already beg your pardon. I was just going to mention, okay, in terms of the relationship, of course, that relationship is, on this platform, of course, we can say that that relationship appears to be within time, but in reality our relationship is eternal. In reality. What exact role that will take in eternity, that will be seen in time. In actual reality, the relationship is eternal. It's not that you accept a spiritual master for a certain purpose, and then when you achieve that purpose, you say goodbye. It's an eternal relationship. However, an eternal relationship may not be in exactly the same format in eternity, so to speak. Just like in our ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada is the eternal guru of everybody. Even now, he's the guru of every member of our society. And all the devotees should really feel that. Although we may have Diksha, representative of Prabhupada, we're all under the shelter of Sri Prabhupada. He's our Siksha guru for everybody. And it's the Siksha which is the most important thing anyway. Diksha is to help increase that Siksha. And part of the Siksha is you have to take Diksha. So the devotees are on behalf of Prabhupada giving that connection to the succession and inspiring the devotees, those who take shelter in that way, to follow Srila Prabhupada's Siksha. And that's eternal. That is the eternal. It's also internal, because the internal platform. Without question, doubt will be under Srila Prabhupada's wing. And like under any wing, there may be, many, let's say, or any tree, there may be some different branches, but they're all connected to that trunk. So although there may be, in an army, for instance, there's a general, and then there may be, I don't know what the next time, brigadier or something, then you get, sergeant majors. You're all working under the same thing ultimately, but there would naturally be, it always was like that, even during Srila Prabhupada's time. The devotees, we would work under, local temple president or sannyasis or whatever it was. It wasn't like we were directly even thinking that, I'm directly serving Prabhupada. Maybe we're thinking like that, but most of the time we're just, serving the temple or following the inspirational guidance of somebody else like that. That's the succession also. So that's the same situation now. It's just that, the formal initiation and inspiration maybe a little bit more seemingly on the responsibility of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, but in reality we're just all under the shelter of Srila Prabhupada. And that is eternal. That is an eternal relationship with Prabhupada.
Okay, Maharaj, our next question is, what is the importance of the instructions of the Guru?
well, assuming that the instructions of the Guru are instructions of the Guru and not their own, because it's really meant to be the instructions coming through the disciplic succession again, and from one's own spiritual master. No doubt different people will interpret that in different ways, but in reality it's when we actually present the will, the instructions of our spiritual master, which want to look at this one too? Okay, two there. Yeah, get a bit closer to each other. The instructions of the spiritual master are no different than the instructions of Krishna. Krishna speaks, Parampara evam parampara praptam rajasya the will of Krishna. Bhagavad Gita, for instance, is like the will of Krishna. When a person leaves this world, they may leave a will. It's not that Krishna's left, but in one sense, his vapu may have left. But he leaves his vani behind. And then that vani has to be carefully protected. That means his instruction passed down from the spiritual master to disciple. The disciple, if they're following the spiritual master, may become the next link or links in the disciplic succession, and they pass on the same teachings. According to the time, place, and circumstances, there may be some, you can say, dexterity in knowing how to present, but the actual message is the same, exactly the same. So obviously if we want to develop a relationship with Krishna, if we want to become Krishna conscious, we have to follow Krishna's guidelines, his directions to us, as he's spoken them in the Bhagavad Gita and elsewhere. So the instructions of the spiritual master shouldn't be any different than the instructions of Krishna. And by following such instructions, one develops one's Krishna consciousness, as simple as that. So when Krishna sees that we're following, and when Krishna sees that we're presenting his instructions, naturally he's pleased. Like if we give a guideline to somebody, you know, say for instance you're an authority in any subject, be cooking, or whatever it may be, and somebody asks you how do you give them guidance, do you give them instruction how to cook? And naturally if they follow your instructions properly, with the right guidance, you expect that they're going to get the result, they're going to get a nice preparation of some sort. And if they don't, they may not get the same result. So we don't change. When something is correct, you don't need to change, or directions how to go from here to Sydney or Wollongong. We're sitting in a suburb of Sydney right now, so we're talking about Sydney and local towns around here. You ask somebody who knows the way, and you may never have been there, but if you know the way, you can still pass that message on, and it may still work. You may not have been there, but you know the map, you know the route, you know the instruction how to get to that place. So it may be that you can say that, you know, it's not that we're seeing Krishna at every moment, or that, yes, I'm actually coming directly from Goloka Vrindavan or something. But we receive from Srila Prabhupada the directions. And those directions work, they're Krishna's directions. We just have to pass those on. We don't need to give our own directions, our own conditioned directions, our own idea of how we would like it to be, or what we think it could be. You know, we may not be seeing things ourselves entirely from Krishna's point of view, but by following somebody who is, and presenting their direction, and if we're following that direction ourselves too, others can also follow that direction. You know, if you get the right. So the disciplic succession is the direction, is the connection. It's like the plug on the wall, is the connection to the powerhouse. The plug's not the powerhouse, but unless you put the plug in that connection, you won't get any energy, you won't get the electricity. It's not going to happen. You've got to connect to the bona fide connection to the power source. Well, Prabhupada will give the example sometimes of a letterbox. Anyone can put a letterbox up, and it may look just like an ordinary letterbox, but it won't work. Because certain letterboxes are authorized and certain letterboxes are not authorized. You've got to make sure you put your letter in the authorized one. So this is the line of disciplic succession. Letterbox itself is not, the postal service exactly. It represents the postal service. Just like a devotee is representing his spiritual master. It may not be fully, 100%, you could say, Krishna conscious in one sense, but because you're representing that line and you're passing on that message, the line which leads to Krishna. So you have to, that's the instruction, how to reach Krishna. The line of succession is the line, how to go back to Krishna. Bhagavad Gita is how to become Krishna conscious. You just have to present it as it is. That's why Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita is Bhagavad Gita as it is. Not as I like it, or as it could be. It is as it is. So you have to simply follow that instruction. It works. If you follow a bona fide or authorized instruction, it will work. Because you have to know how to follow it too. There are many details like that, but in principle, that's how it works.
Krishna Kirtana Ganana Kanapatau.
That's how it works. It's very simple. If you don't follow it, it won't work. It's a formula. If you don't follow the formula, you're not going to get the result. You may have a very good system, but it won't work. 2 and 2 equals 3. If you think it equals 4, no, equals 4. If you think it equals 3, it's not going to work, is it? You have everything else may be fine, but you've got to get your initial formula. The words of Krishna, we have to make them the center of our lives, as passed down in their disciple succession through the spiritual masters. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Our last question for today is, can you tell us your message to your devotees on your Vyasa Puja?
Well, I would like to be their devotee. I don't have my message as such. I would just have my request that, Srila Prabhupada himself, personification of truth and humility, Srila Prabhupada always considered himself the servant of his own disciples. So I'd like to thank everyone for giving me this opportunity on behalf of Prabhupada to render service to the devotees. If there's anything I can do, I'm the most fortunate person. What will be the instrument assigned to be done to help devotees to become serious and sincere, to take shelter of Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet. And that means taking shelter of his instructions, making his instructions their life and soul, working cooperatively together with Prabhupada in the center. And in a business, as Prabhupada would always say, to put Krishna in the center. Our business is also consistent to help us to put Krishna in the center, and to put Prabhupada in the center of our lives, of our mission, of our movement, no matter who we may have taken official administration from. Srila Prabhupada is our life and soul, the guide in our lives. So if we do that, there's a lot better chance that we work and fulfill Prabhupada's desire that we have unity in diversity, that we work cooperatively together. Prabhupada wanted very much that Prabhupada would say after he's moved along, that my desire is that you work cooperatively together. So this is how we can work cooperatively together. When we see ourselves as servants of each other, our business is to serve. The Guru's business, spiritual master's business, or whatever we are, is to render service. This is our nature. I'd like to thank everybody for giving us this kind opportunity to render some little service, and we're very kind also if we can improve in our service. Those can feedback or even help us to become more sincere in our service to Srila Prabhupada. Not on this occasion, on every occasion. This is just an opportunity to remember how dependent we are on Prabhupada, on other devotees, on our spiritual masters and so on. We're dependent on other devotees, and we should always try to see, way how we can encourage, inspire, and serve each other in this way. And taking shelter in the disciple succession is like the line leading to the lotus feet of Krishna, and we can take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord in this way. As I can say, Hare Krishna. I would also request all of us to encourage each other to chant together more and more and more. This is our Krishna movement. Prabhupada has over and over again, thousands upon thousands of times emphasized the Hare Krishna movement. And the Yuga Dharma, of course, is chanting the holy names of God, and how all our problems can be resolved when we come together, instead of just finding differences or fighting with each other. When we come together and just chant Hare Krishna together, envy and lust and greed and anger, the actual enemies of the self, will be removed, and the actual change of heart which we want, by the mercy of the holy day, may take place. When we come together, kirtan, this is the most effective method of bringing unity in diversity. So I just humbly request everyone to help me to, and others also, to take this more and more as our life and soul, this chanting of the holy names of the Lord, coming together with God and just chanting Hare Krishna, no matter who we are, and following Prabhupada's instruction to do so. Lord Chaitanya's mission to spread the holy names, chant Hare Krishna, give it to others. So please take this as much as we can, no matter what the difficulties are, no matter what the differences are, no matter what's going on around us. We can't necessarily change the world, as Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said. We've got to change our perception of it. We all want to reform. We want to talk about reforming. And in Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj's own words, the only reform which is required is your own. Anyone who thinks they can reform this world is in need of reform. The only thing you can reform is yourself, nobody else. Reform how we see this world. And that is about by taking or exposing ourselves to the transcendental sound vibration of the holy name. And everything takes on a different perspective. One has no longer enemies, or, seeing others as enemies or obstacles on their path, etc., etc. The only obstacle is within. The only enemy is within. Around another. No one is what to do. You just have to have faith in the holy name and chant the holy names of Krishna more and more and more. And again, this is the business of the Guru, to teach and to inspire others to take the Yuga Dharma as their life and soul. The simple succession is just passing down the means of awakening our Krishna consciousness in the Teen Kali Yuga is Nam Sankirtan. To perform Nam Sankirtan in homes, on your own, wherever you are, in groups, on the street, in the temple, wherever you may meet, wherever you may be, but to try to develop this mood of spreading the holy names to every town and village, and giving Krishna consciousness as Prabhupada has inspired us and ordered us to do. It's our good fortune to have the opportunity to be a tiny little part in assisting Srila Prabhupada in our disciple succession and attempting to do that. So like anyone who happens to be fortunate or unfortunate, whatever it may be, to be watching this or to be associated with me, to please encourage me and everyone else we meet to do so and chant the holy names as much as we can. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
On behalf of all of your disciples, Maharaj, they'd like to thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. I would like to see them as my masters. Prabhupada one time said, I have no disciples, I only have masters. I am very fortunate to have so many wonderful devotees to. I hope one day I can become their servants and serve them, so that they may develop their love for Prabhupada and Krishna and follow his instructions with all their hearts.